Of New Iberia City Council to order. We have the prayer and the pledge led by Councilwoman Peggy Gerard.
Good evening, everybody. Bow our heads in prayers. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Natalie Roban.
Present.
Councilmember Peggy Gerard.
Present.
Councilmember Robert Swear.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle.
Here.
Councilmember David Merrill. Councilmember Raymond Lewis.
Present.
Councilmember Calvin Bagnell. Mayor Curry, you have a quorum.
Thank you. The first agenda item is public comments, and I don't believe that we have any cards. There's no one in the audience that has requested to comment on any agenda items. I would ask everyone to please put their phones on vibrate, please. The next agenda item is agenda item 2, which is acceptance of the minutes of the October 20th, 2015 meeting as published on Thursday, October 29th, 2015.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Doyle.
Yeah.
Second by Mr. Lewis. Is there any discussion? Any objection? No objection. Motion carries. The next agenda item, we have persons to address the council, and we have Ms. Roberta Boudreau, who is a candidate for Iberia Parish Sheriff.
Hi, I just want to thank y'all for allowing me to come up here again. It's an honor and a privilege to do so. I don't know how common this is or rare or whatever, but I just really want to re-announce my candidacy for sheriff before you today. We made it through the first round. We're in a runoff, that election being on November 21st. I want to just kind of talk about what I want to do for the city. The Sheriff's Department does cover the parish, but I think from a city government perspective, you want to hear what I have to offer to you. And this is what I say. I offer to you the ability to communicate with you as city leaders, to renegotiate that contract, whereby we can save the city some money. It's a double-edged sword because it's draining the city funds, but on the backside of that, the parish coverage, as far as units and visibility goes, suffers, because I think that they're trying so hard to honor the contract guidelines and personnel is an issue, that it's causing issues across the board. I think $6.3 million is an extraordinary amount of money. I think that when you had a full force on your own, it was 4.7. I think that's very workable. I know that we have an election coming up for you city leaders soon. I don't know that you're going to want to address that come July. I'm hopeful. That's why I say July. But I want you to know that I believe that there needs to be a check and balance for you in oversight to know where your money is being spent and what services you're being provided for those funds. The city contract, I've looked at it, I've read it, it's very vague. I think it's critical. I know my current position in Vermilion Parish is a liaison officer. And by that I mean I oversee the expenses for the parish in a sheriff's department setting. I don't do my job for one entity. You know, it's for everyone, because in the end, when you work for government, you should not be one-dimensional. It's all taxpayer-based money, and you should be forgiving and considerate of all monies that are taxpayers, because I myself am a taxpayer. So I don't look out for one entity. So at sheriff, I'll do the same thing. I think it's critical that you have someone designated to oversee and have an open dialogue with the person overseeing our accounting department to see where your funds are going. Do I believe that money can be saved? Absolutely. But the first thing we have to have is communication. It's critical. I think that we can probably bring back a traffic department in the city through an intergovernmental agreement. And then maybe in time, I know that the residents voted for this contract, so it is what it is. But I think there's ways we can tweak it and make it better. On the other side of the spectrum is I want to talk about some of the programs that have been cut with the department. Although expenses and operational costs have climbed over $3 million since '08 to now, services are being cut. So I don't really understand. I understand where the money's going, but I don't see that it's where it needs to go. We've had domestic abuse programs cut. We've had 2 elderly abuse and neglect prevention programs cut, which were totally funded by the state. Every single penny from the car to the person sitting in the car, and the DARE program. I think DARE is very, very important. I worked in juvenile. How many times I had parents call me upset because they felt like they failed as parents. And it's simple. If we can provide services that give them guidance in a positive manner and direction where they can become leaders instead of followers, then it's incumbent upon us to do so. I know it's not my job as sheriff to raise kids, but if I can offer things to get them in leadership roles and keep them off the street and keep them mind occupied and give them good self-esteem, good skills to go out in the real world and become leaders, then it's incumbent upon me to do that. Lastly, I want to say there's a severe disconnect between the Sheriff's Department and the citizens. There's no trust. Crime is at an all-time high. I think that we can get that back, but it's going to take a lot of patience. And we need to work hard in community policing and getting out of our cars and mingling with the community, get familiar with the community we serve, and vice versa. The only way to do that is to retain employees. Pay your frontline officers better. Your upper management does not eat all the money. That's where it's at today. We need to keep our people, retain them, so they become familiar with who they're serving. Familiar faces, build a bond, build trust. I want to stand here and tell you that I pledge, when I win as sheriff, to be accessible to you and give you oversight of that money for that city contract. And there is no doubt in my mind, we have plenty of time to rework it and save the city a tremendous amount of money where you can spend those things and do your building repairs or do your road repairs. That's all I have to say. I have some, if anyone has any questions, I'm eager to answer if you have any.
I have a comment, not a question.
Certainly.
Mr. Merrill?
I remember when you came the last time, we talked about some of the same things you mentioned, and my thing is to connect with the city and the sheriff department, also the parish as well, but then the accountability for the funds. You know, that's where I stand. Whether you win your run for sheriff, or if the sheriff that we have in place, Sheriff Ack, will still be there. We have to have a relationship as far as how the money being spent. You know, and I like to see that happen going into the next year, and I'm pretty sure my council members would love to see it, and the mayor as well, before whoever's here or whoever comes after. Because if we don't have that, we're not going to have that communication and the connect you're talking about. That money is a lot of money, and a lot of that money comes out of what we do, goes to the sheriff's contract, and it should be accountable. And that's what I'm looking for, that's what I'm hoping for out of you as a candidate or the sheriff who's there in place. So hopefully this, you know, what's going on with this election hopefully can bring out some better things for the community. And the DARE program, I think, was a very good program. And I would like to see that come back as well. You know, I mentor kids in the school system myself, and I see DARE does pretty good in Lafayette, and it makes the people, not just the kids, aware of what's going on in the community. And good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Lewis?
I just have a comment. You know, Ms. Boudreaux, I gotta tell you, when I ran in 2004, I had 4, 5. It was 5 of us that ran for this seat. And I told the people when I was knocking doors, I represented change. Change that years later, they've been able to see within District 5. When I've ever, when that happened, one of the person that ran for change came and endorsed a person that was appointed. A neighbor endorsed a person that was appointed. He was a candidate. But though he did that, and I look at Mr. David Spike Baudouin, who called me the week of the election and talked to me about a sign and what his plans were if he was in the runoffs or whatever that situation was. I was shocked and surprised what I witnessed on the steps of the courthouse on Friday. His people were shocked about what they witnessed on the courthouse steps on Friday, learned about Sunday, and in Monday's TV 10 news. I was shocked per his calling me. I've not called any candidate. I've not endorsed any candidate because I believe if you run for office, as did I do in 2004, I ran because I wanted change. As you see on the parish council races, you have one runoff, you have 8 different changes. If people didn't want change, they would not run for public office. So I don't understand. The Bible says, render unto Caesar what Caesar's due. So I'm not getting into too much Christianity. But don't claim and profess something, and then you got to come and deal with Caesar's law. Trying to know if you're a believer in God's law and the word and what it says. I have never made a pledge to anybody after I've lost the election. I just lost a state representative run. And I ran because I believed as a city councilman, as I believed as a school board representative. I represented change. So the advice that I give to you, Ms. Boudreaux, is what it did for me in 2004, it made me knock a little harder. I knocked the district twice. Then after the endorsement of my neighbor with the person that was appointed to serve out the term, I knocked a little harder. So despite what Mr. David Spike Baudouin did, you go and knock a little harder. You go to talk to as many people as you can. So I'm telling you from experience, don't be discouraged by that. If he wanted to go and work for the sheriff, why didn't he just apply? Didn't getting a bunch of people that believed in his message and his cause. I'm kind of offended because of the call that I got from him the week leading up to election. But that's his choice and his right. But I tell you, from my experience, knock a little harder. Get your message out. And hopefully the people, I know the people are going to decide at the end of the day who's best to be sheriff. Thank you very much.
Anyone else have any questions?
I forgot to close when I'm number 70. Anyway, thank y'all very much for y'all time. I sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you. The next agenda item is a resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution awarding bid for diesel fuel and regular unleaded gasoline for the period beginning November 4th, 2015 through October 31st, 2016.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Merrill. Second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Roban. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, this, is this the fuel that we go to the gas stations and get? Is it like,
like-
certain gas stations in
Well,
Iberia?
We had Fuel Man before,
Yeah,
and it's
but this
someone, it's
is
another
different now,
company.
huh?
Yes, it's another company. Kimberly did.
We only received one response to the bid that we had put out, and the company's name is Fuel It, and they're actually a division of Lord All Company.
So I saw they had a list of how many pumps or how
Right.
many things they had in New Iberia.
Yes.
Fuel Man, like how long Fuel Man we been with the city?
We have been with Fuel Man since the early 2000s.
What, I mean, why would they not bid again?
They did
That's
not
strange, huh?
Yeah, they did not reply. Rachel had called them on, I think it was the day before or the day of the bid response that it was due. And the guy said he had to forward it to a different department to prepare a response.
Now, how does since we had only one bid, how do we know about the price of the fuel?
The price that they quoted us is the pump price. It's pump price less the applicable taxes. And our contract that we had with Fuel Man was actually a cost plus.
Yeah.
We were paying slightly higher than, well, we were not paying the taxes, but we were paying a little bit more, and that that encompassed everything from, the issuance of cards and the reporting and all of that. This company is gonna do it for the pump price, less the taxes, no additional cost.
So all the cards or whatever is included, no extra charge?
Correct.
And then we don't have any fuel that's at the barn anymore?
no.
It's all done?
Everything is
for
through
even
cards.
heavy equipment?
Yes,
Yeah, it's
heavy
all-
equipment's all
Okay.
done through the cards.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Motion, we have a motion and a second. I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item, Madam Clerk.
A resolution supporting CLECO as it enters an agreement to be acquired by North American Investor Group, led by Macquarie Infrastructures and Real Assets, and British Columbia Investment Management Corporation.
So move it.
A motion by Mr. Swear.
Second by Mr. Rapp.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second by Mr. Rack. And we have a representative from CLECO here. I don't know if you'd like to say anything or if they have any questions. I'll let you introduce yourself when you approach the podium and,
Hi, I'm Sabrina Sowling. I'm with CLECO. I'm standing in for Steve Segura tonight, and we just appreciate y'all's support. CLECO is looking forward to this new investment firm, and we just hope that you guys will stand with us.
I got a
Is-
question too.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dahl and then
Is it
Mr.
still to be
Merrill.
called CLECO?
Yes, sir. We will
Thank
still, our main office will still be in Pineville, and all operations will continue as they are now.
Okay, thank you.
And it does not affect our contract in any way.
That was my question.
Yeah.
No, sir,
was
does
my
not.
question.
It does
It all
not
stays the
affect our
same.
contract.
When you get into mergers and stuff, you don't know if that's gonna happen, so that was my question.
Yes, sir. We will
Thank you.
stay the same. Thank you.
Do y'all have a local number?
No, we still just have the 1-800 number for our customers to call. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being here this evening.
We
I
appreciate y'all's support.
Thank you. And I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you, Mayor.
Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item is an introduction of an ordinance, Madam Clerk, and before we put a revised copy on your desk, because when I read through it, I realized that Jason Akers had not put in an amount, and it's not to exceed 1,350,000 is what we're refunding. So it wasn't in your original.
Refund.
It's called refunding, it's the same thing, we refinance it, refunding. Okay, I'll let Madam Clerk read it.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of $1,350,000 aggregate principal amount of the limited tax refunding bonds, Series 2015 of the City of New Iberia, State of Louisiana, prescribing the form, terms, and conditions thereof, and providing for the payment thereof, awarding such bonds to the purchaser thereof, providing for the redemption of certain outstanding bonds of the issuer, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
Okay, and at the last meeting, we discussed this. This is just the introduction of the ordinance. It'll be on the agenda to adopt at the next meeting, and I think Jason Akles will be here at that meeting if you have any further questions. And he should have more information as to the exact amount once he gets information on exact interest rates and the fees and all. So this is just an introduction. Thank you. Motion by Mr. Lewis.
Second.
Second by Mr. Merrill. Is there any further discussion?
So Mayor, when we do adopt it next meeting, we'll have the percentage rates and everything?
Everything will be
Okay,
there. We
thank
should
you.
have more information, but it's just that we have to set it, have
Thank
that
you.
introduction tonight to have the adoption at the next meeting. I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda, well, it's not an agenda item, it's announcements. The next city council meeting will be held Tuesday, November 17th, 2015. The next neighborhood watch meeting for District 4, Mr. Merrill, will be held on Thursday, November the 19th, 2015, at the Slyman Theater at 6 p.m., and their topic will be holiday shopping safety. Tuesday, November 17th, is a smoke-free night, and it will be hosted by several bars within the city from 5:30 until 8:30, and those bars include Bourbon Hall, Mulligan's, Napoleon's, Carabella's, The Camp, and Big Papa's Saloon. Early voting for November 21st, 2015 election begins November 7th through the 14th. And that's it. I ask for a
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lewis,
Second.
second by Mr. Doyle.